Imagine the sheer physical violence of hitting the brakes at 320 kilometers per hour.
Oh, yeah, it's brutal.
Right. Your body desperately wants to just keep flying forward. You're pinned only by a 6-point harness. And at that speed, you are completely relying on the invisible weight of the air, the aerodynamics, to crush your car into the tarmac so the tires actually grip.
Exactly.
Now imagine turning the steering wheel and feeling absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
The resistance just vanishes. You are no longer driving a race car. You are essentially a passenger in a multi-million-dollar, totally unguided carbon fiber missile.
And you know, the craziest part, that is not some worst-case simulator scenario.
No.
That is the terrifying reality playing out right now on the track. We are looking at a sport that has pushed its engineering so far into the experimental zone that the literal physical limits of the cars are just, they're breaking down in real time.
It's insane. Welcome to our latest deep dive. Today's date is April 13th, 2026. The season is barely underway, and the sport is already completely redlined.
Oh, it is past the red line.
Way past. Today, we have a massive stack of internal knowledge to go through. We're talking leaked technical briefs from the paddock, intercepted private driver communications, really deep insider stuff. We are totally bypassing the PR spin.
Yes, forget the press releases.
Exactly. We're going straight behind the pit wall to unpack 3 massive colliding shockwaves. First, a 2026 regulation crisis that is making the cars terrifyingly unpredictable. Second, an unprecedented and honestly grueling calendar shuffle.
Which is a whole nightmare on its own.
Total nightmare. And third, a driver market earthquake that could actually see Max Verstappen replace his ultimate rival of Ferrari. So, okay, let's unpack this. Let's jump straight into the machinery crisis.
Right.
Specifically, these new energy management rules. What is going on out there?
Well, to understand the severity of it, we have to look at the physics of the 2026 rulebook. The governing body, they wanted to make the sport greener. So they mandated a 50-50 power split. Half the car's horsepower comes from a traditional internal combustion engine burning fuel, and the other half comes from a massive electrical battery system.
Which, I mean, on paper, it sounds incredibly innovative.
On paper, sure. But if you're listening to this and wondering why a multi-billion-dollar sport is suddenly in absolute panic mode, you have to understand the physical constraints of that electrical energy.
Because batteries drain.
Exactly.
And they drain incredibly fast when you are deploying all that energy to push a car through the air at over 300 kilometers per hour.
Precisely. So on these long straights, the electrical energy is depleting way, way before the braking zone. And when that battery suddenly cuts out, you lose half your horsepower in a fraction of a second.
Just gone.
Just gone. Just gone. The combustion engine alone simply isn't powerful enough to push the immense aerodynamic drag of the car. The driver essentially hits a metaphorical wall of air.
Wow.
The car decelerates violently while it's still just going down the straight.
Which creates a scenario where, you have one car that still has battery deployment flying down the straight and a car just ahead of it that has run out of juice and is effectively a sitting duck.
Yeah, it's a terrifying speed delta.
According to the technical briefs we've been looking at, we aren't just seeing, easy overtakes. We are seeing speed discrepancies of 40 to 50 kilometers per hour between 2 cars on the exact same piece of track.
It's a miracle we haven't seen a catastrophic rear-end collision yet.
Honestly, it is.
Yeah.
But we did see the direct results of this erratic behavior in Japan with Oliver Biermann's crash.
Right.
And then there was that genuinely horrifying impact involving Jack Doohan at Suzuka.
Yeah, the Doohan incident is the absolute nightmare scenario the drivers were warning everyone about. Because to compensate for the engines lacking that sustained power, the rulebook introduced active aero.
Right, active aero.
Normally, the wings on an F1 car are just fixed in place to push the car down into the track.
Create downforce.
Exactly, downforce. But downforce creates drag, which slows the car down on the straights. So active aero allows the front and rear wings to dynamically flatten out on the straights. It sheds that drag to help the underpowered cars hit higher top speeds.
Kind of like a supercharged version of the DRS overtaking system.
Right, but it happens automatically all around the entire car.
But the crucial part, and this is what's terrifying, is that those wings have to pop back into their high downforce position The literal millisecond the driver hits the brakes.
Yes.
If they don't, you have no invisible anchor holding you to the road.
And according to the leaked telemetry from Suzuka, entering turn 1, which is, an incredibly demanding ultra-high-speed corner.
That's brutal. Yeah.
The actuators on Duhan's rear wing simply failed under the aerodynamic load. The wing just remained open.
Unbelievable.
He turned the wheel expecting grip, had 0 rear downforce, and the car instantly snapped out of control straight into the barriers.
Man. And what is genuinely blowing my mind right now is the official response to this. Because in the leaked operational memos we're looking through, the top technical delegates are aggressively downplaying the crisis.
Oh, totally.
The official line circulating the paddock right now is that the 2026 rulebook just, quote, needs an apple a day, not open heart surgery.
Yeah.
They are literally trying to tell the teams that it's a minor hiccup.
Which is just an incredibly dismissive narrative, especially when you consider that the Grand Prix Drivers Associate, the private communication channel for all 20 drivers,
Right.
it is practically melting down with technical alarms. The drivers are the ones physically experiencing this in the cockpit.
They're putting their lives on the line.
Exactly. They are looking at the upcoming calendar at tracks like Baku in Azerbaijan, which features a massive 2-kilometer flat-out straight bordered by solid concrete walls.
Straight circuit.
And they are terrified. If an active aero actuator fails there, or a massive speed delta causes a collision, the consequences are severe.
I really have to push back on that whole apple a day metaphor from the governing body because it feels deliberately misleading.
It does.
Driving one of these 2026 cars is not like having a minor vitamin deficiency. It's like playing a highly competitive racing video game and having your controller randomly disconnect from the console.
That's a great way to put it.
Except, instead of just pausing the game and resetting your PlayStation, you are feeling the real-world physical G-forces of an impending 40G impact into a tire wall.
Right. It's life or death.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So are these fixes actually going to work? Because the memos mention a Phase 1 fix for Miami and a Phase 2 for 2027. Are these Miami software patches just a Band-Aid on a bullet wound?
Phase 1 is entirely a software patch. They're looking to limit the maximum electric power a driver can deploy at one time, and they want to heavily restrict how the boost and overtake modes function.
Okay.
The goal is basically to artificially smooth out the energy delivery so the battery doesn't just fall off a cliff halfway down the straight. But from an engineering standpoint, it is a completely superficial fix.
Right.
It doesn't solve the core mechanical deficit of the combustion engine at all. It just masks the battery drain using software algorithms.
And Phase 2.
Well, Phase 2 is the open heart surgery they claim they don't need.
Wow.
Slated for 2027. This would require ripping up the hardware rules entirely. They're discussing increasing the fuel flow rate, which fundamentally shifts the power balance back toward the combustion engine.
So they'd actually have to redesign the engines.
Yeah, it means the manufacturers have to redesign physical components.
Interesting.
What's fascinating here is how the drivers are stepping up as the mature voices in the room. They are pushing incredibly hard for this because they know it's the only way to get a car that behaves dynamically and naturally.
Rather than feeling like an unpredictable science experiment driven by software.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They are desperately trying to save the sport's safety and its spectacle.
So you basically have drivers fighting malfunctioning spaceships. But, it's not just the hardware that's failing. It's the human endurance required to actually race them. If the machines are breaking down, the calendar is absolutely about to break the people.
Without a doubt.
Because the logistical reality we're seeing in these documents is just staggering. What happened with the Middle East races?
Well, we have to factor in the geopolitical reality that has slammed into the sport's commercial operations right now. According to the internal knowledge we have, the localized conflicts in the Middle East forced the total cancellation of the Bahrain and Saudi Arabian Grand Prix at the very start of the year.
Right. But the immense financial muscle behind those events, specifically massive commercial partners like Aramco, they do not just accept a cancellation.
No, they don't.
The financial pressure is forcing a radical, unprecedented calendar reshuffle. The documents show Saudi Arabia is aggressively demanding to be relocated to a December 11th through 13th slot.
Pushing the season finale that deep into December is virtually unheard of in the modern era, but honestly, the date isn't even the most alarming part.
It's the sequence of races it creates.
Yes.
If this reshuffle is approved, we are looking at a brutal, first-of-its-kind, 4-race, consecutive finale to end the year. A quadruple header.
It's insane.
I really want to emphasize what a quadruple header actually means for the human beings on the ground. Because you aren't just packing a suitcase and catching a commercial flight.
Far from it.
If you are a mechanic, you are tearing down a mobile aerospace laboratory. It takes 12 to 14 hours just to dismantle the IT infrastructure, the carbon fiber components, the garage paneling. You pack it all into shipping containers. You sleep on a cargo plane, land in a totally new time zone, and spend 2 days building it all back up again.
Right.
To do that 4 weeks in a row, under the immense tension of ending a championship fight, that is a gauntlet of pure exhaustion.
It raises a profound question about human sustainability within the paddock, and the trajectory is only getting steeper. It doesn't stop here.
Wow.
No, we have internal leaks from drivers. Pierre Gasly has been particularly vocal in these private channels, and they indicate a massive commercial push to expand the calendar to 25 races by 2027.
25 races. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that the paddock considered 20 to be the absolute physical maximum.
Yeah, but the goalposts are constantly shifting because the commercial incentives are just so high. But when you dilute the calendar to 25 events, you completely strip away the prestige and uniqueness of the individual Grand Prix.
Right, stops being special.
Exactly. It ceases to be a global tour of distinct sporting challenges and just devolves into a grinding war of attrition. You have crews operating on severe sleep deprivation.
And when mechanics are fatigued, human error creeps in.
Always.
And in a sport where, a loosely attached wheel nut or a missed sensor calibration can lead to a massive crash, those mistakes become mathematically inevitable.
Absolutely. The sheer psychological and physical breaking point this places on everyone it's unsustainable.
So if you have machines you literally cannot trust, and a schedule designed to basically grind you to dust, it's no wonder the reigning world champion is eyeing the exit door.
No kidding.
Let's pivot to this driver market earthquake. Because the Red Bull empire that built Max Verstappen is currently being actively dismantled. Max's inner circle is completely dissolving.
It is a mass exodus of the team's foundational brain trust. I mean, we are looking at a roster of exits that would cripple any organization.
Oh, for sure.
You've got Adrian Newey, the aerodynamic genius who designed their dominant cars, gone. Jonathan Wheatley, the sporting director who orchestrated their flawless pit stops, gone. Rob Marshall and Will Courtney taking their engineering expertise to rivals.
And now Jean-Pierre Lambiase, Max's intensely close race engineer, is reportedly on his way out too.
Right. But the real catalyst for the current hostility, the ultimate betrayal, was the firing of Helmut Marko.
Yeah. Our sources detail how the timing of that dismissal was viewed by the Verstappen camp. Marko was fired in December, right after the grid was essentially locked for the upcoming season.
The timing is critical to understand the psychology at play here.
Totally.
Verstappen operates with an intense demand for loyalty. He publicly stated during the team's internal power struggles that he could not continue without Helmut Marko.
Right. He drew a line in the sand.
And Red Bull essentially called his bluff by waiting until he had no immediate alternatives for the next season, and then they removed his closest ally.
So you have the most ruthless driver of his generation, feeling deeply betrayed, trapped in a decaying team infrastructure, driving a 2026 car with energy management rules he despises on a calendar that keeps him away from his family for most of the year.
The flag of resentment has definitely been raised.
Big time. So naturally, the paddock intelligence is suddenly taking a wild rumor very seriously. Imagine the unthinkable. Max Verstappen jumping to Ferrari to replace his arch-nemesis, Lewis Hamilton.
I mean, the logistics of a move to Ferrari are incredibly complex, but we have to critically analyze why this is even on the board. The immediate question is, why wouldn't he just go to Mercedes?
Right, because they clearly have the best grasp on the new 2026 engine regulations. Our internal data shows Mercedes has found a massive advantage. We're talking something in the realm of 20 to 25 horsepower over the rest of the grid.
Yes, but the intelligence suggests Mercedes might have closed the door on Max.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they courted Max heavily last year, and he rejected them. Now, Mercedes has George Russell performing at a very high level alongside their young prodigy, Kimi Antonelli.
So they don't need him.
They hold the cards. They don't need to beg. Ferrari, on the other hand, presents a fascinating technical proposition. The paddock consensus is that Ferrari has built a phenomenal aerodynamic chassis for 2026.
Which is huge with these new active aero rules.
Exactly. They're exceptional in the corners, compensating for their slight horsepower deficit on the straights. If you put Max Verstappen into a chassis that compliant, he will drag it into a championship fight.
But there is a monumental roadblock sitting in the Ferrari team principal's office. Fred Vasseur. He orchestrated the move of the decade to bring Lewis Hamilton to Maranello alongside Charles Leclerc. And Vasseur is known for his deep loyalty. He loves his current dream lineup.
He really does.
If he were to tear up Hamilton's contract, which includes a very clear option for 2027, and replace him with Verstappen, it would be a massive bridge-burning slap in the face to a 7-time world champion.
It would also fundamentally change the culture of the team. We really have to look at the historical context of how these two drivers operate within a garage.
Good point.
Hamilton is widely recognized as a foundational pillar for team morale. Look at the internal paddock memories from people who worked with him at Mercedes after that brutal 2021 Abu Dhabi finale.
Oh, man.
It was a crushing, highly contentious defeat. Yet Hamilton displayed remarkable stoicism. He became the unifying force that kept that garage from splintering.
You can even trace that back to his legendary 2007 rookie year, which actually has been a topic of discussion in recent private driver circles.
Oh, absolutely.
Hamilton went toe-to-toe with Fernando Alonso, the reigning double world champion, and matched his intensity without folding. Contrast that supreme confidence with the brutal beatdowns we are seeing modern rookies like Antonelli and Piastri experiencing right now.
Yeah, it's night and day.
Hamilton builds a team up around a shared vision. Max, conversely, is just a ruthless force of nature. He demands that the team bends entirely to his will.
Which is exactly why Verstappen only cares about winning. The sources indicate Max doesn't care about the romantic mystique of driving for Ferrari. He just doesn't. He only cares if they can give him a weapon to annihilate the competition.
So what happens if Vasseur refuses to break his current lineup, and Mercedes remains content with their duo? Max isn't going to just sit in the midfield suffering through active aero failures.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this brings us to the ultimate wild card.
Okay, what is it?
Verstappen absolutely despises these 2026 regulations. He hates the energy management, he hates the artificial active aero, and he is sick of the 25 race commercial grind. The internal communications reveal he is currently finding significantly more joy racing GT3 cars on the Nürburgring Nordschleife in his private time.
Wait, really? The Nordschleife? For those listening who might not follow other racing series, GT3 cars are heavily modified versions of production sports cars. Think Porsche 911s or Ferrari 296s.
Right.
And the Nordschleife is the legendary green hell. It's a brutal, narrow, 20-kilometer track winding through the German forest. It is pure, terrifying, old-school racing.
Exactly. It relies on mechanical grip, raw driver talent, and traditional physics.
No active aero.
No software actively managing his battery life or flattening his wings on a straight. It is the exact antithesis of the 2026 Formula One regulations.
Wow. So you're saying?
I'm saying Verstappen has an exit clause in his Red Bull contract tied to the team's performance metrics. Since the team is currently failing to meet those targets, there is a very real possibility he activates the clause, flips the bird to the new regulations, and simply takes a sabbatical.
Wait, a sabbatical? Has a driver in their absolute prime ever walked away from Formula One successfully without losing their competitive edge? I mean, look at what happened when Michael Schumacher or Kimi Räikkönen left and tried to come back.
It's incredibly difficult.
The sport moves so fast, it's almost impossible to reclaim that top-tier performance.
It is an immense risk. But he might just step away from the grid and wait to see who actually builds a functional dominant car by 2027 or 2028.
Man. So what does this all mean? Let's step back and look at the sheer scale of the crisis we've just unpacked today.
It's massive.
We have an entire grid of multi-million-dollar machines relying on experimental regulations that are fundamentally failing. They are turning the cars into unpredictable hazards at 300 kilometers per hour.
Yeah.
We have a financially aggressive calendar demanding superhuman endurance, actively threatening to break the physical and mental health of the mechanics and engineers.
The people who actually keep the sport running?
Exactly. And caught in the very center of this storm is a generational talent in Max Verstappen, who is so deeply alienated by the politics, the technology, and the exhaustion that he is actively calculating his exit strategy.
It is a perfect storm of technical hubris and commercial greed, and it's all coming to a head right now.
Which leaves us with one final lingering question for you to mull over as we wrap up this deep dive. If the fastest, most technologically advanced cars in the world can no longer provide a pure enough racing experience to keep the greatest driver in the world interested,
Right.
and the sheer relentless volume of races is actively breaking the minds and bodies of the crews who build them, who is this new era of Formula One actually being built for,